Hello everybody, using the hacksaw. Now one of the main rules when using the hacksaw states that there must always be at least 3 teeth of the blade on the job at any one time. Any less than that, then you risk breaking off teeth. However, there is a technique that you can use where you can use a coarse blade on thin materials, but you still keep to the 3-tooth rule. And I'm going to show you what that technique is. In my basic hacksaw video, I showed that an 18 TPI blade was too coarse for cutting 3mm material. Let's recap. This is a piece of 25 by 25mm mild steel angle. The wall thickness is 3mm. Which blade would be best to cut this? Let's look at an 18 TPI blade first. Hold the blade against the narrowest part that will need to be cut. Look, 3 teeth can sit on the job. Now push the blade along a little. Oh no, now there's only 2 teeth. The 18 TPI blade is too coarse. Now, what I said was true, but look what happens when you hold the blade at an angle to the job. With the blade at this angle, there are now 4 teeth touching the job. If we increase the angle of the blade, the number of teeth will increase. And now we have 7 teeth touching the job. So, it is possible to cut a 3mm piece of material with an 18 TPI hacksaw blade and keep 3 or more teeth on the job most of the time. Now I say most of the time because as you're cutting you are changing the angle and you've got to know what that angle is. Now you can sense what the angle is by the feedback that you get through the hacksaw. Now let me show you what I mean. Now here I have a piece of 2mm steel. I want to cut this with an 18 TPI hacksaw blade. Now if you have a look at this image, you'll notice that if I go through this material at 90 degrees, only 1 tooth is going to be on the material at any one time. Now what that means is as I push forward, all the energy that I'm putting into that hacksaw is going onto 1 tooth, and there's a good chance that I'm going to snap a tooth off. So I do need to go through at an angle to keep as many teeth on the job as I can all the time. Right, so I have my 18 TPI blade in the hacksaw. I've marked a line down the edge of the piece of material here, and now I'm going to start to hacksaw. Now I'm putting my thumb there as a stop, bringing the blade up to just against the line, and now going backwards and forwards, pushing down very slightly on the blade, and now I'll transfer my hand to the end. The amount of pressure that I'm putting down is very minimal. It's only my fingers going here. A sharp blade doesn't need that much downward pressure at the nose of the hacksaw. And you can hear that the blade is cutting nicely, and I can feel it as well. You can see that we're at a nice shallow angle. There's lots of teeth touching the job. I've now taken this cut through to round about here. If I put the blade back in the job, you can see where we are. Now, what I want to show you first is this is the correct angle for this 2mm piece of steel, the 18 TPI blade, to have more than 3 teeth on the job. Now what you need to do is listen to the noise this is making. Now that's a happy blade. I can feel that it's cutting nicely through my handle, and I can also hear that it's cutting nicely. Now what I'm going to do is increase the angle. Now as I increase the angle, there's going to be less and less teeth touching the job. I'm going to be able to feel it on my hand. It gets sort of juddery as you go down, and the noise changes as well. And as you're doing the hacksawing, these are the noises that you need to be aware of, and the feedback from the handle of the hacksaw as well. And this is what needs a little bit of practice. And this is what you need to do, is put a piece of material in the vise. We can hear when it's cutting nicely like that. I'm now going to increase the angle. There's less teeth touching the job now, and you can hear that it's it's starting to sound unhappy really, but we're still cutting. Now I'm not pushing down very hard because I don't want to snap any teeth off my blade. But you can hear now that you can hear the teeth going over the piece that's being cut. And then as I come, I'll bring my hand back down again, and then you hear that it's now happy and cutting well. And that's what you need to practice. Listen to the job, that'll tell you if the blade's cutting nicely. Feel the job through the hacksaw, and then you will be at one with your hacksaw and the job. Right, the cut has now reached this corner of the job. If I keep cutting now, I'm going to be cutting through the vertical piece of this metal. Now, we know that this blade is too coarse for cutting straight through, so we need to cut that at an angle. So what I'm going to have to do is change the position of the job in the vise. And what I will do is simply turn this around. Now I've cut the slot right to the corner here, so I can actually see the end of the cut. I now put the blade into it like this, and I'm just going backwards and forwards, putting hardly any pressure on there because I don't want to damage any teeth, until I get the cut started, which is just there. So I'm almost all the way through now. Now I'm not going to cut all the way through and let this fall off. The reason is because now I'm cutting right towards the end. The amount of job that's actually underneath the blade is reducing in size, and we're going to go down to less than 2 or less than 3 teeth, and then that's going to put pressure on the blades and we're liable to break teeth. So I've just seen this move, there's not much holding it, so now what I'm going to do is just bend it off like that, and then dress up that edge with a file, and then that way I haven't broken any teeth off the blade. So cutting at the correct angle is the secret of using a coarse blade to cut thinner material.
Wait, I hear you cry. Why not just use a finer blade? You shouldn't break any teeth, and there'd be no need to worry about which angle you're cutting at.
Well, this is a good question. It's a valid argument, and some would say it's the best way to go.
However, the larger the teeth on a hacksaw blade, the more material they can cut. Using this technique will give you 2 main benefits. The first, your cuts will take less time to do. The second, you'll be able to keep an 18 TPI blade in the hacksaw most of the time, as you can now use it on a wider selection of material thicknesses.
To recap, if you want to cut maximum material from your job with the hacksaw, you can use a coarser blade on thinner material, but the cut that you make must be at the correct angle. You can maintain that angle by listening to what the hacksaw is telling you. The blade is giving you sound information back. Listen to that. The hacksaw itself is giving you vibration information through your hand. Learn to understand what that says. If you can do that, then you're going to make really good cuts really quickly, and your blade is not going to lose teeth. Could you do something like this? Of course you can. And with that, this video is at an end. Take care everybody, and I'll see you next time.
Could you do something like this? Of course you can.